Our reaction to Andrew McCarthy's new documentary, Brats. Grab a drink, grab a snack, and let's go back. Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Gen X Unfiltered, the podcast.
What's up, everybody?
Hey.
Whoa, Eric's a little spicy on this Tuesday evening.
That was my new thing. I got told I had to do that every time. So.
That's right. You guys let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
I forgot about
good or
that.
bad, let us know.
I didn't get any feedback on the last one.
I thought you were just being spicy on this Tuesday.
No,
No? Okay.
not yet.
All right. So, as the title suggests, we all watched the brand new Andrew McCarthy documentary, Brats.
That's right.
All about the Brat Pack. And we're here to talk about it. But first, before we talk about it, I'm going to ask you guys a question, okay?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to watching the Brats documentary, because that, may have swayed some things, but prior to that, Steve, who did you consider to be in the quote-unquote Brat Pack?
I always just kind of assumed it was like basically the guys from pretty much the Breakfast Club.
The Breakfast Club?
Yeah, basically. I thought it was like Emilio Estevez,
Can't remember the
Judd
name.
Nelson, Molly Ringwald, Ali Sheedy. And kind of that was it, I guess.
All right, Eric, what about you? Prior to the movie.
Prior to the movie, I thought it was like pretty much exactly the Breakfast Club and the St. Elmo's Fire Crew. So there's some crossover folks there, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I knew Debbie Moore, I think, was part of it. And who else did I think was part of it? I guess that was really it. Just kind of Debbie Moore on top of the Breakfast Club folks.
Yeah.
See, I never really thought much about the Brat Pack, but we've all heard
Really? You didn't think about it on a daily basis, wondering who was in it, what they're doing now?
Oh, Andrew McCarthy. I knew he was part of it too.
Andrew McCarthy, yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
But so when I ever heard the term Brat Pack, like I had seen Breakfast Club, I think I've seen 16 Candles, I don't really remember, like all those movies back then. I'd never seen St. Elmo's Fire. And I always just assumed the Brat Pack people were the people in that movie because they always had that picture of that cast when they talked about the Brat Pack,
because most
right?
of them were kind of
So,
quote unquote in the Brat Pack or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
all right, let's just,
So is this the official list
these
of
are
who is
the
it?
key members because
All right.
as we'll discuss from the documentary, there's a lot of who really was in the Brat Pack.
That was one of the biggest
Yeah.
questions in the documentary. It was like, who do you think is actually in the Brat Pack?
So it was Emilio Estevez, Anthony Michael Hall, Rob Lowe, Andrew McCarthy, Demi Moore, Judd Nelson, Molly Ringwald, and Ali Sheedy. Anthony Michael Hall? I don't remember him being mentioned.
No.
But anyway, that's sort of the key.
Yeah. It's weird because
members.
he was in
He was in Breakfast Club.
Breakfast Club. He's in 16 Candles.
16
He was in
Candles.
He was in that sort of same sphere as those other actors.
Yeah.
So you kind of think that all of them would be considered it, but it's a weird thing.
He'll always be like Russ Griswold to me, but
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So we're like 5 minutes into this podcast, and just for anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about,
That's
the
a good
Brat
point.
Pack.
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
is the Brat Pack? So the Brat Pack refers to a group of young actors who frequently appeared together in coming-of-age films in the 1980s. The term was coined by New York Magazine journalist David Bloom in a 1985 article, which is the basis pretty much of the whole Brats documentary,
Yeah.
which we'll talk about.
the impact of that article.
Yeah, and it says the Brat Pack's origin can be traced to a handful of films directed by John Hughes and Joel Schumacher that featured a reoccurring ensemble of young actors, and then those actors that I just mentioned. But again, it's funny because like Demi Moore was in one of those movies, but she's in the Brat Pack.
Well, that's the thing. I never think of Demi Moore as a member of the Brat Pack.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah.
I totally forgot you. I hadn't watched St. Elmo's Fire in years until we watched it again on the weekend.
Yeah, I'd never
I
seen
forgot. I
it.
kind of forgot she was in it, to be honest. So I'd never ever think of her as being a part of the Brat Pack.
So
It is weird because she kind of distanced herself from them, I think, for the most part of her
Well,
career.
I mean, she's clearly the most famous out of all the. Rob Lowe. Hi.
Rob Lowe's done well. He's had some ups.
Hey.
He's kind of a rocky finish after it, but yeah, he's kind of come back out on
Look,
top. Yeah.
Rob Lowe had his,
He had his
bad
down
era.
times.
His,
Yeah.
his bad times.
Yeah.
But yes. I
Yeah,
mean,
well, they all did. I mean,
Hi.
it's yeah.
So some of the notable films that are quintessential Brat Pack movies, which are characterized by their focus on teenage angst, friendship, and struggles of growing up: The Breakfast Club, St. Elmo's Fire, 16 Candles, and Pretty in Pink. Those are kind of like the
Yeah.
main ones, I guess.
That seems to be the kind of that
core-
sort of era,
the core
of,
Brat Pack movies?
like the era of the Brat Pack. It wasn't very long because they all like this. They all this like after this article came out, they pretty much
Yeah.
all like,
Well,
I'm not a
yeah.
part of this.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about that quickly, because if you haven't seen the Brats documentary by Andrew McCarthy, it's interesting. It's interesting, and I didn't really know what to expect going into it, and I have some strong opinions about it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I really didn't know. I mean, obviously I knew like. Obviously I'd heard the term, never read the article on it. Obviously, like it was,
So-
pretty young when it came out.
Yeah.
well,
So I never read it before, so didn't really know much about it.
I thought that the documentary honestly was going to be more of like sort of like a history of the Brat Pack and like, how it's all that kind of stuff.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. The whole premise of the documentary was literally him, I always want to say the other guy's name, Andrew McCarthy.
Yeah.
Trying to get in touch with all of the Brat Packers now to talk about this article and how it seemingly destroyed their lives.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
negatively impacted their career.
Yeah.
And one of the interesting tidbits right off the top, which we were all kind of surprised at, because again, it's this like illusion that you have, but like, he's like, I haven't talked to any of these guys in like 30 plus years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the biggest one of the biggest things was like even back in the 80s, none of them were really friends.
No.
They
No.
made some movies together, but none of them hung out on a regular basis
No.
on that at all. And I think that was the whole thing, was the Brat Pack. Everyone thought they were like best friends and did everything
Yeah.
off
There was a lot of
screen and on
assumptions.
screen.
Yeah.
And, it's like, oh, they're friends in St. Elmo's Fire. They
Yeah.
must be best friends off the screen. It's like, nope, not at all.
No.
So this article was basically just about this group of actors doing these movies, and he actually, the journalist, because he got interviewed by whatever
Andrew
the guy's
McCarthy.
name,
Yeah.
Andrew McCarthy. I just want to say Anthony McCartney or whatever. I don't know.
Paul McCartney.
But the way the term the Brat Pack came about was so innocuous. Like, it was just so. Do you remember the story about what he said?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly, but he was just kind of thinking about it. I can't remember exactly what he said, but if you remember, Miguel had...
I don't. I mean, I watched it,
Oh, I
but I
thought you
mean,
had.
no. But it was basically
I think she's
like.
throwing a
way,
line out
the
there.
way he put us on the spot, I was
Yeah.
like...
Well, no, because
clearly
we
remember.
talked about it. So I mean, I don't remember the specifics. And again, it was a movie. It was a week ago. It was like 4 days ago. It's been a long time. Okay, but it was basically just he was trying to come up with like a catchy phrase or verse or whatever, a term, and then like Brat just sort of stemmed from something, and like that's literally how it was.
Yeah,
And
there was
it
not
just-
like a lot of thought to it. Just kind of popped into his head, thinking maybe obviously is it like a reference to the Rat Pack, but yeah, it just
Yeah.
kind of popped into his head. It wasn't like he went out and was like trying to think of this super clever
And it
term.
all
It just kind of
all changed because of that one article.
Yeah.
yeah.
What was like? Yeah, so the documentary starts out with him trying to contact, Rob Lowe, Demi Moore, Ali Sheedy, Molly Ringwald,
Judd Nelson.
Nelson.
Yeah.
I think that was all. Those are the people that he was
Yeah.
kind of going. Was the St.
Yeah.
Elmo's Fire crew?
Yeah, so the first part of the documentary is really him searching out the former Brat Pack members
Yeah.
to try and get their opinion on the article,
How they
Yeah.
how it
felt
impacted
about,
their
yeah.
career, all that stuff, right? So it's really kind of interesting to see like him searching for people and their willingness or unwillingness in some cases to be part of the documentary and talk
Well,
about
that's the
it.
thing. A couple of people were like,
Well, let's go through the list.
Yeah.
So Emilio Estevez met with him
Yeah.
pretty
Yep.
quickly
Yeah, he was on board.
to
right off the
talk
top,
about it.
yeah.
Yeah, he kind of was indifferent to the whole thing. He didn't really.
Yeah.
Molly or Ali Sheedy, same thing. He got
Yeah.
her pretty quickly,
Yep.
and she was really refreshing. I don't know. I like her.
Yeah,
really
she
know
didn't
much
seem
about
too
her.
down about the article. She thought that the article, kind of helped empower them in some ways.
Yeah.
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 And then Molly Ringwald was a big fat hell to the no.
She was not interested in being part of the documentary. She's like, I'm forward looking. I don't want to worry
Yeah.
about stuff from the past or bring it back up again. And,
I'll talk about that in a second. It's so crazy to me. But Judd Nelson was that his name? Judd
Yeah,
Nelson,
he-
same
yeah.
thing.
He was a hard one to find.
He never showed up. Yeah.
He never showed up in the documentary, and he was Andrew McCartney had a really hard time trying to get a hold of him in the
Well,
first
even
place.
just to try to track him down, it's not like
is
he was. Yeah.
even
Yeah.
like an actor anymore?
Good question.
I
don't know.
think so.
I'm sure he's probably.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing I remember seeing him in was Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was
So that
like
was
20
like-
years
yeah.
ago.
And
But-
surprisingly, Demi Moore, she was there.
Demi Moore was on
She was
board.
pretty open. She,
Yeah.
I mean, what is she? She doesn't care. Her career was just fine.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, no,
she
she-
did
good.
Her
well.
Yeah.
And who did I forget? Did I forget anybody? Rob Lowe.
Yeah, how do you forget Rob
Yeah,
Lowe?
Rob Lowe.
Hi, Rob Lowe. Yes.
Rob Lowe, if you're out there, I think maybe Kelly's got a
Hit
thing.
me
Yeah.
up, Rob. It's those eyes.
He looks good for his age. I'll give him that.
He
That's
does.
true.
Damn.
What's your secret, Rob?
Yeah, tell us.
Well, maybe not tell us because he did a lot of bad things.
Yeah, he'll look at us and be like, "Too late, Eric."
Yeah.
But yeah, so Molly Ringwald was a big hell to the no, and Judd Nelson was a big hell to the no.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was like, spoiler alert, at the very end, Judd Nelson calls into McCartney's phone.
But he clearly didn't give permission for that phone call to be in the video.
and potentially
Or,
the whole thing was like staged.
Staged.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't actually really call him.
It-
Who
It
It
knows?
was just sort of like
Yeah,
a pop at the end of the
like,
movie.
It literally ended when his phone rang and he's like, Judd, and then it went black.
Yeah.
So obviously he wasn't interested. If it was him, he wasn't interested in being in the video per se.
Yeah, exactly.
Or documentary, I
Exactly.
guess. So that kind of takes us to the whole, like, what everybody... I'm just going to preface this by saying, like, I don't know. My instinctual reaction was I was shocked at how some of them were still so butthurt about that article.
Well, I mean, the whole reason it seemed like Andrew McCarthy made this movie was basically like because
He figured
And
it ruined his
basically
career.
kind of
He was the
changed his
biggest
career, yeah.
butthurt one. Like,
oh yeah,
which
he was really.
it's crazy to me, like, that it's been like 30, 40, I don't even know,
Yeah.
40 years, 30 years,
Yeah.
35 years, and there's like some of them are still so butthurt about
Yeah,
it.
Yeah, he was pretty bitter.
He totally thought that article pigeonholed him into like, this is what you are. You're a Brat Packer.
Yeah.
You're not a serious actor necessarily.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you're not
totally.
going to get like the good roles because of that.
But look,
Yeah.
Demi Moore did.
Eventually,
it's true
Maybe
eventually.
you're just not,
not
a
right
good
off the bat.
actor.
None of them much
Well,
in the '90s and stuff.
right.
Like till
No.
later on, it took them probably a good 10 years to all kind of
Yeah.
get
It
over that
did.
sort of hump.
Yeah, Demi Moore, like she broke out like, well, I'm trying to think. She had like
She was in the 90s.
she had A Few Good Men was a good movie she was
Yeah.
in. Well, I mean, there's Striptease and G.I. Jane, not the best movies, but
Yeah,
she had like big roles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Rob Lowe, I mean, he was more of a TV guy. Like, he did movies, obviously, but he did a lot of TV series. So, I mean, like,
Yeah.
I get it. I just think it's weird that 35 years later, you're still that bitter. Like, I get when you're, like, in your 20s and 30s,
Yeah.
you're still struggling and you're, like, typecast, but, like, really?
Yeah, but I guess I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. You know, you're kind of they were sort of just starting out at that point too, right? And they're sort of getting on that sort of crest of fame, and then someone comes along and just
Paints them with the same brush.
sort of sandbags you with
But I-
chops you, cuts your knees out. You know.
But why couldn't they have just turned it into something good? Like, just, they should have leaned in.
That was what Ali Sheedy was kind of
That's
saying.
maybe they should have. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
whole thing. Like I don't know,
Yeah.
you know how they all responded to it. Like in this one article too, which is kind of crazy
It's
that it was
so
such a
crazy.
big deal. Like
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought it was such a big deal, but
Well, you're right. Ali Sheedy was kind of like, she was just very indifferent, which I really
Yeah.
loved her kind of
Yeah.
like, you know, it may have sucked at the time, but like, whatever, I'm here and I did my thing. And I mean,
Yeah.
you know, and I got to say, girl looks good for her age.
she looked pretty
yeah.
much the same. I mean,
Like-
obviously with different hair and stuff like that, but like yeah,
beautiful, like gorgeous Ali
Yeah,
Sheedy.
no, she looked pretty
Tell
much
me
the same as.
your secrets,
Yeah.
Ali Sheedy. Because I mean, no knocking if she has or hasn't, but I mean, she doesn't look like one of those stereotypical
No,
60-year-olds
no,
that's had
she-
like work done.
No,
She's
no.
just
She
beautiful.
looked,
Yeah.
she looked natural.
Natural,
Yeah,
yeah.
From what I remember, yeah, no, she did look like she aged gracefully and
Yeah.
did well. Yeah.
But yeah, she was very much just sort of like, yeah.
Yeah,
that happened.
she was definitely not like butthurt by the whole article.
No.
Not
No.
hanging on to the past.
Yeah.
No.
Made her peace with whatever happened back then.
Andrew McCarthy ended up like, at first I wasn't really sure what his vibe was. Like, I wasn't really kind of sure. But then, like, I thought it was really kind of funny when he interviewed the author of that article.
That was built up to be like a big scene. It's like, oh wow,
Yeah, I'm
he's got
surprised.
all these like bad feelings towards the author in that article.
Yeah.
and here he is. He's going to interview him. Let's see how
Oh,
this goes.
I
well,
thought it was
first-
going to be a little more
First of all, he was kind of a,
tense or something like that.
well,
Yeah.
he was a shitty interviewer. Like, he
Well, I
wasn't
mean,
very good.
he's an actor. He's
I know.
You know.
But also,
he's
I
not a-
think it was
Yeah.
kind of funny because I think he was like literally expecting this guy to apologize for the article. Like, that's what he was going in wanting. You
Oh,
could
yeah.
feel it. You could feel
think
it.
Yeah.
He
was
wanted
hoping it'd be a
redemption.
little more like, yeah,
And the guy was just like, well,
He's like-
no, I wrote the article. And
Yeah.
yeah. He didn't
He's-
seem to be.
He was basically like, nope, I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like, I'd start that article. I'd still, call you guys the Brat Pack. Like I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah,
really.
he was
Yeah.
kind of like, his,
Yeah.
you know, I didn't, and he was like, I think he's kind of like, my intent wasn't to be like super
No.
malicious.
Yeah.
You know,
It
Like,
was-
it wasn't a very glowing article.
No.
So,
No.
I mean,
It was really funny, the author, like what he thought was going to happen for his career after that article came out.
Yes.
He
Because the
thought,
article
yeah.
blew up. It was huge, right?
Yeah,
He was like, wow, I'm going to get myself to that next tier of, like journalist.
Yeah.
Moving on up in the world. When I'm going to talk to the editor of the paper.
Yeah.
And this is it. I'm in the big time. And then, nope, that was.
yeah, he kind of thought it was going to make his journalistic career like
Yeah.
he would
no.
be a celebrity or like
Yeah,
another,
exactly.
like big writer or whatever. Yeah, and it
Yeah.
clearly
It's-
didn't do a whole lot for him.
No.
It's just so crazy to me, like this one article that was just,
Yeah.
like, I mean, yeah, whatever. I don't know. I mean, Andrew is it McCarthy or McCartney?
McCarthy.
McCarthy. I have a lot of trouble with your name. I'm sorry, dude. But he, like, as the movie went on and on and on, like, again, at first, but he was just kind of, I don't know, he was just kind of like a whiny baby about it. I'm going to be honest. That was my vibe at the end. It was, he
It
got
definitely
really,
like you could tell it's still like he
Like,
definitely
move on.
considering he still did like quite a few movies after that too, like some big
yeah.
ones. Like he was in Mannequin and Weekend of Burn. Like, those were big movies from what I remember.
Yeah. Mannequin was like
I know
a
they
hit.
were more like comedies, not
Yeah.
like necessarily any
And-
sort of gritty drama stuff. But
Weekend at Bernie's, and I saw it when I was a kid, but I thought it was hilarious.
yeah, no, it was a huge movie. If I
Yeah.
remember, like I don't know box office wise, but I mean they made a sequel, so it obviously did something well. And
Yeah, exactly.
Like as a Mannequin, it's sort of like a
But
classic '80s like movie.
again, like, okay, I get it, the what ifs, but like, even if this article wasn't written, they could have had a worse career. Maybe,
Well, that's
you know what I
the
mean?
whole
Like,
thing. Sometimes, like, just because it's easy to be like, this article is the reason why I'm not
Yeah.
getting the roles I want. This
Yeah.
article is the reason why I'm not whatever.
Exactly. I wasn't a bigger success than I am.
Is it the article's fault? I don't know. I mean, who knows? I mean, who knows
Yeah.
what he's being told when if he's going into audition and stuff like that. Like, I'm sure it didn't
Yeah.
help them per se, but
It's also an easy out for a casting director to be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, man. You're too much associated with this Brat Pack. You're not right for
but
the
like,
movie."
Yeah.
what was
Instead
the,
of saying,
okay,
"Sorry, man, you're not right for this movie," like,
Yeah,
hold on.
do the
Yeah,
audition.
exactly.
hold on. I have a question because full disclosure, I never actually read the article. Did you guys read the article?
no.
Oh shit. Okay.
I own the article.
Oops, we
No, I
didn't
don't.
do our research on that part.
I didn't realize he actually wrote a new article
about
about
the
it.
Brat.
Yeah.
Oh shit, we should have read that too. Okay, hold on a second. I do have a question though. This is just my I obviously assume in my head, but I'm gonna ask. So I'm guessing the whole vibe of this Brat Pack was that they were these like badass out of control actors. Was that the whole thing? Is that why it was like a bad typecast because they were like
Yeah,
bratty?
I think so. Well, I think
don't
because the
know.
whole thing is like, so basically he was supposed to write an article about Emilio Estevez only.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then he was hanging out with them because that's what you do. And then they were out one night, and
With
a
all of
bunch
them?
of them showed up, and they were all
Oh.
just young actors drinking
in
and
their
partying and stuff like
20s.
that. So
Yeah.
then he sort of transitioned the article from Emilio to these guys, all of them.
Yeah.
I think talking about the way they were, like
Okay.
Yeah.
and gave them that kind of. These guys are all
Yeah.
young
Partiers.
and enjoying the perks of celebrity and stuff like that.
Exactly.
That's not bad.
But that's sort of the author's take. Is like,
Yeah.
look, like you get the perks of celebrity. Like I was with you guys hanging out that night.
Yeah.
We just got to skip the line and do all those sorts of things celebrities get.
Yeah.
So that's the perks of being a celebrity. The trade-off is you get articles like this sometimes.
Well, that's exactly
right?
the thing.
So
Not
he's like,
everyone's-
I don't feel bad for you. This is just sort of how the business works.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. It's like, this is how it is, guys. Like,
I don't
Yeah.
think
know.
that Andrew McCarthy liked that answer.
No, he was.
No.
I think
He
you're
was
100% right.
so-
I think he was looking for an apology for this guy. Be like, you know what? I'm sorry, man. I wouldn't
Yeah.
have wrote that article. I feel like it negatively impacted all your careers.
Yeah.
Set you guys back. I'm sorry. I wouldn't have done it. But that's not what Andrew McCarthy got at all.
No,
No.
but
McCarthy.
good for the a journalist though. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, he wrote an
Yeah.
article. It was obviously like a editorial type piece. He wrote it. He owns it, and he's like, I'm not apologizing for it.
well, and he wasn't also the opposite. He wasn't like an evil villain either. It was like, yes,
No.
haha, like you stupid
No,
sons
no,
of
no,
bitches.
no.
I did
Yeah.
it. I got exactly what I wanted. I ruined your careers, and this
Yeah.
is the whole, it wasn't that either. The guy's
No.
just like, hey man, I was doing my job.
This
I
is
write
what I saw
see.
that night. Yeah.
This was the article I
But
wrote.
that's not bad stuff. I mean, look at the whole like Paris Hilton, Britney Spears, Kim Kardashian era. They were all doing the same thing.
Well, but that was one of the points that kind of came up too with like Rob Lowe and some of these guys talking when their interviews saying like, that at that point in time too, right? There wasn't teen movies.
no, that's
movies
true.
geared towards 20 somethings was kind of non-existent in
Yeah.
Hollywood.
That's why they kind of blew up.
So it was kind of like this new guard coming in
The
too,
new-
right?
The youth movement. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe the old guard wasn't so crazy about that, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, look, the Brats, they are Brats. These
Yeah.
kids are 20, they're making
just-
all this money making these movies. They're not going to come in and ruin our industry.
Exactly. They're not serious actors like we are.
And that was their biggest point of contention was, I think, that they're everyone thinks we're just brats here for the money
Well,
and fun,
you should-
but
Yeah.
we actually are actors and care about our craft. And
Yeah.
Well, then they should
You
have
know.
proved it.
Well, a lot of them did or tried
yeah,
to. You know,
and I mean,
it's easier
look,
said than done. It's
Of course. But, like, let's be real. We're never going to really, like, look, I watched St. Elmo's Fire this past weekend for the first time. And
We watched that because we wanted something to associate this documentary with.
well, just to make because it's like I
Make
said,
that-
I
make
hadn't
that
seen
connection.
that in
I'm
years.
just
So.
going to say that none of them were winning an Oscar for their roles in that
No, I
shitty
forget.
movie.
It was actually a lot worse than I remember.
Oh yeah,
terrible.
That movie
Yeah.
was hot garbage. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
it
lie.
was all over the place.
Look,
and
Yeah.
it was like this,
My whole thing was, it was just like, okay, so you know how they have those movies now? They had that one, like, it was like Valentine's Day, New Year's or whatever, where it's a whole bunch of stories.
It's a big ensemble
Yeah.
cast.
But they all connect somehow,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So that's what St.
That's
Elmo's Fires was, but nothing really connected. It
well,
was like
did.
10,
Just,
it was
the
like
stories weren't that good. I
well,
don't know.
no, but it just felt like 6 different storylines. And then all of a sudden, somebody was sleeping with somebody because this person was, and then the guy was up in the woods being a stalker to a doctor.
The Emilio Estevez
That was weird.
story arc was not good.
No, I know he came off as a really
He came off as like a weird
creepy
stalker and
And where did he drive? And he's in New York City. I was in there in like the woods and
know.
there's snow everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, where did you go, man?
Yeah, exactly.
How
Like,
far north did you drive? Like, are you in Canada? Like,
yeah.
It made no sense. Yeah, it was.
There's no redemption arc to his story at all. Like he never was like, oh, I should like take a step back here.
No,
He-
Eric, the redemption was when he kissed her and then got the picture and gave
That's what
her
I mean.
the picture.
Yeah.
He doubled down on his craziness and got rewarded.
Yeah, I'm surprised Andy McDowell didn't mace him or
Yeah,
something like that. Like
exactly.
in real life,
But
yeah,
I
I'd be
think-
like,
Because they basically told him to go home, and then for some reason Andy McDowell's boyfriend's like, I'll take a picture of you two.
yeah, I know.
Which makes no sense. So they're taking so while he's getting the camera, Emilio like kisses her, and then she kisses him back. So Emilio's like,
Yeah.
my craziness is being rewarded. She actually does like me.
She's not terrified
But
that I drove
maybe-
all the
Yeah.
way out here after I met her. I went on one date like 6 months ago.
Exactly.
And failed.
And then so like the guy takes the picture, and Emilio's like got a goofy look on his face, gives Andy McDowell the picture. She's like,
You'll remember this forever.
Yeah, exactly.
The
And drive-
crazy guy that showed
and
up
then-
at your house.
And then he drives off victorious, like
Yeah.
he's won, and the girl's his now.
I
I'm
don't know.
like,
It was just
and then they were
weird.
touching the fact like what happened to his job with his boss, like that he
Oh,
used his
yeah.
house at this
I'm-
massive party.
I'm
Like,
assuming
I'm
he was-
guessing he got shit canned.
oh shit, can't totally, yeah. He's
But,
And then
he's done.
Demi
Yeah.
Moore was a drug addict for like 5 minutes and like had a mental breakdown, but then was fine.
She locked herself
Yeah.
in the bedroom with the windows open. It was a terrifying
But then
scene.
guess
She was gonna freeze, man. She was gonna freeze. It was
then-
very cold outside. It was very, very
But
cold.
then guess who saved her?
It was-
Rob Lowe.
Lowe.
Well, the best of the guy, like they get the propane tanks and they're trying to weld it, like he's trying to like weld the doors open and stuff like
I
that. It's like,
don't know.
what is going on? Like, really?
It
This
was
is-
so bad. Like I thought, okay, maybe it'll be bad,
Well,
like
also
but
the-
like nostalgic bad. But it was just
it was
terrible.
But not also these were like these people were like 25, like they were just out of college, and their
Yeah.
lives already terribly shit. It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
know.
Like I was trying not to laugh. Well, I did laugh, but when Judd Nelson he confronts Rob Lowe because he's like, it's 4 months after college. He's like,
Yeah.
you're still partying like it's college, man. That was 4 months ago.
I
I'm
know.
like,
It's like what?
it's like so in 4 months you expect him to like totally like be
Yeah,
like,
like-
a reformed business person now. Like people when they're like young, they still party after college.
Well, no one really
Yeah.
kind of blinks an eye. The fact that this guy's got a wife and a kid.
I
like,
know.
All of a sudden, the wife and kid. No, he was performing, and he's like, "Stop making out with my wife." And I think I
Yeah.
said to you guys, he's married.
No, I
he
know.
was
Yeah.
just making out with the blonde.
but no one seemed to really
Yeah.
care about that at all.
It
He's like a
was
deadbeat
weird.
dad and all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's a very
So
I
for
mean,
me personally, I think objectively, like that movie Cinema's Fire did more to damage all of their careers
Yes.
than
Yeah.
that article ever did.
That's my
yeah, it was
point.
a terrible movie.
Yeah.
That's my point. Is that they were all terrible in that movie. Even
Because,
Demi
like-
Moore sucked.
Yeah. No, it was not a good movie at all.
No.
Especially
So-
when you look at like something like 16 Candles is like a really good movie, I think.
Yeah.
And like it
I've
really
never seen
captures the
that.
teenage angst and uncertainty and stuff like that.
Exactly. Same with like Breakfast Club.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that's like someone like Molly Ringwald and I think Judd Nelson specifically, and they're too good in those movies.
Yeah.
Judd Nelson is always going to be Bender.
You think
Yeah.
that Molly
Unfortunate-
Ringwald's a good actor?
Yeah.
She was, and yeah, I think in Brilliant Pink and Breakfast Club and stuff. Yeah, they were all really good.
That's a really good point because like
I think that they're stuck in those roles. It's like Tony Soprano and stuff like
yeah,
that.
it was really like weird watching Judd Nelson in Cinema's Fire because
Because
he's
he-
so opposite of Bender.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
Because I think I
Exactly.
said that to you. I'm like, oh, he's like the business guy.
He's
in
like
this
a
movie?
straight edge
With his,
Republican
with his,
now.
like, goatee and all this stuff.
Yeah.
He's
It's
okay,
He's
he-
working for like a governor. He's like
Yeah.
fresh out of school.
It's okay.
just,
He
yeah.
was still cheating on his lady.
Yeah.
He was. Yeah. he was.
Extracurriculars got him in
Extracurriculars.
It's okay. Then she just went in, and who is she with?
Andrew
She went
McCarthy.
Andrew McCarthy. She found Andrew and she did a revenge bang.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can all agree that St. Elmo's Fire was hot dumpster fire,
Yeah.
except for one part. Eric, which part?
what a setup that was.
Right? I practiced that
Going
setup.
straight right down the middle.
I
Just
practiced
knock it
that
apart.
setup.
The only redeeming thing of that movie, I think, is the David Foster soundtrack.
Yeah,
Yeah. It was
the
Pretty
song
popular
was
at the time. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Man in Motion was a huge
Man in Motion song,
Is it
the-
called Man in Motion? I don't even.
Yeah, it is. But
the
that
piano love theme that kept playing through the whole
Yeah.
movie.
that played for every scene.
Yeah, that's they
Yeah.
definitely did overkill with like the songs. It was like the same 3 or 4 songs through the whole movie.
Yeah.
But David Foster got his little stamp on that because Eric and I were watching the credits, and it was like every single song had David Foster's name in it.
He was
somewhere.
either a producer of the song,
A
a writer of
writer.
the song. Like he was all over the whole
And
soundtrack.
smart. He
That's
knew.
why David Foster's worth $1 gazillion.
That's right. We lived
Yeah.
in the Malibu mansion, whatever he lived in with the
Yeah.
Jenner boys and all that stuff.
That's why he's a gazillionaire. But yeah, the soundtrack was okay, but the movie was just terrible. And I was
Yeah.
expecting it to be like, an like kind of like Breakfast Clubby, whatever, like that kind of Breakfast Clubby. I said that weird. Sorry, Breakfast Clubby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
no.
like it was just garbage.
I think they built that movie up to be like a defining movie of the generation potentially.
Yeah.
Because it had this big ensemble cast of all the popular young actors and actresses at the time.
Yeah.
But it just it bombed.
Like I'm
Yeah.
assuming it was popular, wasn't it?
I looked it up and it didn't do.
I
didn't
don't
do great.
think it was as
Oh.
popular
No,
as
it made like $37 million, which is like a marginal hit for the time.
yeah.
But the critics panned it, and
Yeah, I don't think it was the massive
No.
hit I thought it was going to be.
No, I didn't even know going into it what the movie was about. Like I had never seen it, never really read anything. I knew it had like an ensemble cast. I assumed
Yeah.
it was sort of like a life type movie. Like I assumed it was one
Yeah.
of those type movies. But yeah, I had no expectations or idea. I know Eric had said, "Oh yeah, it's not so great," and I was like, "Whatever, it can't be that bad."
Yeah,
And it felt-
well, it's really not very well written.
I
and
don't
it's just,
know what the official running time in that movie was, but it felt like I was there for 17 days.
Yeah, you felt like you lived like through like 10 months with these people.
Yeah, out of all the,
Absolutely.
compared to like the other ones on that list you had, like
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
in Pink, The 16 Candles, The Breakfast Club,
Yeah.
like definitely not. Definitely the lowest out of the on the bottom of that list of
Yeah.
good movies. The other ones are really good. That one's
But
Yeah.
kind of tying it back to the documentary we watched, do you guys think that, like, okay, what was your impression overall after watching that documentary of Andrew McCarthy? Like, what do you think? Like, he's justified, or it was like, I don't know. What's your vibe from him after watching that documentary?
I think he's a man full of regret. Maybe not regret, but like, I think he feels like he could have been a lot bigger than he was.
Yeah, I kind of feel like maybe he looks like Rob Lowe and Demi Moore and some of
Yeah.
the other cast members. Like, I should have been like that. I could have been that, but because of this article,
Yeah, I think maybe he thinks he could have been like upper
Well, that's what I'm
echelon
saying,
actors
yeah.
like Brando or somebody like that.
Really?
yeah,
Maybe
no, I
because
think,
like
yeah.
he had an acting career. Like it's not like he didn't have a career at all, right?
No, exactly. He's been in
But
a lot of stuff.
What
but-
he had, he wasn't happy with, and he thinks it's that article's fault.
Yeah, that's what it definitely
Well-
felt like, and I don't know if doesn't even appreciated what he had. Or
Well,
has.
so that's
Yeah.
sort of my vibe from him. Again, I know nothing about him. Literally nothing. I just
Yeah.
watched the documentary. I thought he was the other guy from Breakfast Club. I didn't even know that.
Anthony
movie.
Michael
Yeah,
Hall?
that's who I thought he was. I had no idea.
Yeah, he
Of
wasn't.
course he was.
He wasn't in that movie at
No,
all.
but I think that I don't know. For me, he just came across at the end as kind of just bitter, resentful, like blame game. Like who knows what he could have been if the art. But like, come on, are we really blaming one article from 35 years ago for completely destroying your career up to this point?
Yeah.
like that's a bit of a stretch, and it kind of sounds like an excuse.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. It's it's an easy way to say, hey, I could have done this, but because of that article, I didn't get a shot.
There was other ones that were successful. Like I mean,
well, and
there
that's
was
the thing.
other
It's
people
like
that were
they all had
successful.
careers in some way, shape, or form. Most of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know.
I don't know, like Molly. Well, maybe that's why she's bitter, but I don't know, like, what was she in after those '80s movies? I mean, I'm sure she was in stuff, but
She
like
kind
anything.
of disappeared. I think for a while.
Yeah.
She's been in some stuff, but
yeah, I think once John Hughes kind of like she wasn't in any of his movies, or his movies kind of like faded out.
Yeah.
Like she kind of her career kind of
Yeah.
faded out too.
yeah, I'm trying to think. Well, I know she was been in some other stuff, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
But like Ali Sheedy, same
she made
thing.
like bit like cameo appearances.
Yeah.
In not another teen movie, she made an appearance in that. That was like 2000 though.
Yeah,
that's
but
what
I mean,
I'm
she
saying.
has
She
no-
didn't do a whole
Nothing
lot,
big.
yeah.
leading roles. What about Ali Sheedy? I feel like she's done more than Molly Ringwald. maybe
I'm
not.
not sure. She was in like the Short Circuit movies.
But I kind of feel
Johnny
like,
Five is alive.
but I kind of feel like she's just like whatever.
Yeah, she was unbothered, which
She
is kind
didn't
of
seem
refreshing.
to be
It was.
too upset about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think she just kind of sort of was unbothered, but also just was grateful for the success that they had back then.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like, is it? It's easy to be like, I could have, I should have, I would have done more. It's like, but you had,
Yeah.
like I said, even Andrew McCarthy. It's like, you're in a bunch of movies in the '80s and '90s, and I don't know. I honestly don't know what else he's done since. And I mean, I look at IMDb, he's probably done more than that, and maybe some behind the scenes stuff. I don't know. But
I mean, I think he's done okay because we looked up their net worths after and stuff.
Yeah,
because we always do, and he was worth like 17 million, I think, around there.
Yeah, I mean,
so that's not like it's not a you can live a comfortable life on $17 million.
Jesus,
poor Judd Nelson.
Yeah, his was it like
2 million or something?
Yeah.
I mean, and if he's happy, who cares?
If I had $2 million, I'd be a happy guy. But,
exactly, yeah.
But I think because of the documentary and his lack of wanting to appear in it, I feel like he's a bitter Betty too. So I'm like,
yeah, some of that's kind of telling, right? Like Molly Ringwald wouldn't be in it, Judd Nelson wouldn't be in it. That kind of makes me think they were definitely on the bitter pill side.
Well,
because if I was Molly Ringwald and she's like, I'm looking forward, not looking back, like I get that in the theory of life, but at the same time, like, I don't know, you think you just want to like talk about it and be like, oh my god, I can't believe that, how that's crazy.
You think so? But I'm gonna guess, especially those who specifically have probably been asked about those movies
probably
in the last 40 years,
every fucking day. I bet you someone comes up to them and says, I loved you in Breakfast Club, I loved you as...
But is that bad?
No, it's not bad, but that doesn't mean you want, at some point you want to, I get you want to move on from that stuff too, right? So that's why you're like, I'm not going to talk about it because...
I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
So I can understand where they're coming from because you hear about that all the time with, like, look at, like, Friends or whatever, getting typecast. All these, like, Tony Soprano, all these guys, like...
Yeah. But I mean, it's
interesting, right? I think
it's a double-edged sword.
It is for sure. I think it all comes down to your perspective on things, right? Because there's a million actors out there that would have loved to have been typecast.
Well, and any of these actors would have killed to be in this, any sort of like, to be in some sort of role.
Yeah, if you're like, a struggling actor who's just waiting tables, looking for your big break, you're like, hell, I would love to be typecast as a successful character in a big movie.
Well, wasn't Molly Ringwald in like every one of those movies? Was she the only one that was in every one?
She wasn't in St. Elmo's Fire, but
she was, I mean, good for her.
If it was John Hughes in the 80s, she was pretty much in
a lot of them. Michael Hall were
so she was already like typecast, like just from doing the John Hughes movie. She's like the John Hughes girl.
Yeah.
So any other role, like other than like a teenage angsty girl, would just not have been her thing. It just wouldn't have worked.
It might have, but again, you get typecast, right? It's like, no, you can't play this role because you're her, and that's I think what Andrew McCarthy was kind of getting at. You can't play this role because you're a goofy brat that doesn't want to appreciate anything, so you couldn't have a serious role.
Well, some of that is just transition too, right? Like actors when they're playing like young people or like teenagers, they don't always make that transition into like adult roles.
No, it's hard. It's because you're going from like playing some goofy comedy roles to trying to be a serious actor. It's not every like look at because that's the thing too. I didn't even talk about look at like Tom Cruise and these guys. They were in that time frame too, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Timothy Hutton was in the documentary. He won an Oscar when he was like 19.
Yeah.
So it's all over the map. It's
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously factors of typecasting and whatever, but you can't tell me that nobody out there would ever give them a role just because they were labeled the Brat Pack. I'm just saying that, because look, again, I'm going to use the example, Demi Moore, Rob Lowe, they went on to be very successful. I mean, very successful.
Rob Lowe, he never made it in movies though.
But that's fine. But like, let's be real. I mean, Rob Lowe had the trashiest personal life out of all of them that was publicized. He still overcame that and became super successful on television. I mean, he's still an actor.
No, it's true.
Well, and I think the biggest thing is, if you think, and maybe that's the perfect example of this stuff, like, it's like everyone says, if you get rich to realize it doesn't bring you any happiness.
Well, no, I mean...
That may be part of it too, right? People are thinking, if only I'd gotten this role, then I'd be happier. Or things would be so much better if I had done this or that. And you get there, it's like, no, it's the same thing.
I think we all...
At the end of the day, who do you think a happier person is? Ali Sheedy or Andrew McCarthy?
I think we need to have the Ali Sheedy vibe. Like, she was so unbothered, but grateful at the same time.
And that's what you had to just be grateful for the experience. And
I should say,
Emilio
Estevez was kind of just like,
we
forgot to talk about him. I mean, he's actually, but I mean, he was pretty successful in his career.
No, he's done well too. Yeah, I mean, it's I mean, a lot of these guys, they're still steady acting. Again, then it becomes the next thing that what's considered successful as an actor.
Well, I mean,
that's talking like Oscars and like blockbuster movies, then most of them haven't done anything.
No, but I think it's your own personal,
that's what I'm saying is that you need to be happy with what you're doing and where you're at. It's easy to be looking at everyone else around you and be like, why am I that person?
And
why am I not doing that? It's like
comparison, the thief of joy.
Exactly.
I'm basing my comments and reactions to the documentary and just how my opinion, Andrew McCarthy just comes across as so butthurt and bitter.
It definitely had that, like, he didn't seem too, like, angry about it, but the whole thing just seemed kind of like
it's almost like wah wah. Like,
Yeah.
that's what you feel like.
How
you know?
dare this article be written about us?
And he never came to any real resolution at the end either. He wasn't like at peace with it.
No.
It just kind of was open ended. Like,
Yeah, it didn't like. Yeah, it was a weird.
yeah, he didn't get what he wanted out of the author. He never came to terms with it himself in the end.
No.
Yeah, no, it didn't seem like he was kind of like, oh, you know what? It was a great time, and
Yeah.
you know, this. It was kind of like he was still like.
He was like, yeah, like I appreciate the experience, the times I had with my fellow actors.
Yeah.
None of that. It was like, you know, where's Judd?
Yeah.
So here's like another
Why don't you
thing.
call Jonathan Silverman? See how happy he is.
Yeah.
You know, your buddy from Weekend at Bernie's.
Here's another thing that he mentioned in the documentary really quickly that, or was mentioned. I don't know who said it. But so when this article came out, they all were like, let's like scattered. Let's not have any involvement
Let's not
with
be
each
seen
other.
together with each
Yeah.
other. We're not doing movies together.
And it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know who said it. Was it Ali Sheedy? I don't remember. But basically, like, we could have really just embraced that.
Well, they
and
probably
just,
should
like-
have, because that's the thing. These guys are all kind of being cast in movies together. All of a sudden, they want to work together.
Yeah.
Emilio
It's like-
Estevez had an example when he's interviewing. Remember, he's like, there's a movie that they wanted Emilio and Andrew to be in together,
Yeah.
and Emilio was like, no, we're not going to do it because
It's so weird.
because of the association.
And because Andrew McCarthy was like, "Oh, that is what happened. I always wondered."
Yeah,
You know, and he's like, "Yeah."
Oh,
it's just
because
like-
Andrew, Bitter Betty, thought that it was just
Yeah.
like they didn't want him or something, wasn't it?
No. He thought it was.
Oh,
he,
because
he,
of the typecast.
he assumed it was because of the Brat Pack thing. He's like, Amelia's not going to want to, and
yeah, and that was the
and he
case.
didn't want to do it after then. Then just
So
whatever reason, the
crazy.
movie didn't get made.
Yeah,
So yeah, it was kind of but it proved his point,
yeah,
right?
yeah. He's like,
Yeah.
I listed on the work because of the Brat Pack Association.
Yeah.
But that's because Emilio didn't want to do it with him. So it wasn't just, that was another
No,
actor
I know.
saying
But
it,
Emilio
right?
didn't want to do it because of that Brat
the
Pack.
thing. So
It's
Yeah.
just so weird. It's just so like funny, like that they all like not out of all of them, they all just it's like they just got so freaked out by this article. This one
I think-
innocuous article
yeah.
that just came out that was completely just whatever. It's
yeah,
weird.
No, I think it. Yeah, I mean, it just. Yeah, I don't know. It painted them as in a light they definitely
Didn't
weren't
like.
happy
Well,
about.
I
and
know
it
that-
definitely was. It doesn't sound like it was an accurate portrayal of what they were, or what they
No.
were doing, or what they were about.
I need to read that article though, because I want to actually read. I mean, I should have, but I just never thought of it. But I want to read that article to actually see like how bad of a light it actually paints them in, or if it's
Yeah.
just like they're typical 20-year-old celebrities partying in Hollywood.
Yeah.
I mean, getting in skipping lines. I mean, that just happens. It's not a surprise.
Well, not even that, but
Yeah.
you're named after the Rat Pack, which is basically a bunch of like drunks that would go out and sing.
Yeah.
You know, like the Rat Pack,
Doesn't
right?
everybody love the Rat Pack?
Well, they do, but that's they would get all drunk on stage. You know,
Yeah.
Frank and Dino and the boys, and like
Yeah.
just have fun and joke around. So it's like they were basically the 20-year-old version of.
They
Of that.
really
The
could have
Rat
leaned
Pack.
into that. I'm just,
They probably could have, but at the time, I don't.
Well,
It was
that's-
also 1985, so it's like a
Well-
little different in terms of what people think is cool or not cool.
That's
and
what
stuff
I'm
too.
just.
It's
I was gonna say too, and I keep forgetting, and I think I just lost it out of my head.
Uh-oh.
too. No, but But I think that somebody in the documentary said that when we were all like in our 20s or mid 20s or whatever, and so they didn't really know what to do with the article, and their
Yeah.
instinct was just separate.
Yeah,
well, and that's you probably have your managers and stuff too, being like, oh,
it was just distance yourself from all of it.
yeah, this is career kryptonite. Stay away from it.
Yeah.
Which is like, but the stuff that got you to where you are right now to be the Brat Pack.
Yeah.
Now just stop doing it instantly.
So the Brat, like, okay, so was St. Elmo's Fire the last movie out of all those sort of like era movies?
Of the Brat Pack.
Yeah, like the but like the 16 Candles, all those.
Sort of, I think. Yeah, it was kind
Okay,
of.
and then the article came out after that movie,
Yeah.
or around that
Yeah.
when that movie. Not the article obviously didn't come out when like Breakfast Club and stuff was going on.
No, it was like sort of after that, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the article's
Okay.
85. Breakfast Club was like 84, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay,
And so there were some John Hughes movies that came out after the article, like Pretty in Pink was after.
but she was the only one in that one, right? There was no
Molly
other.
Ringwald is in Pretty in Pink.
But she's the only
Yeah.
one that was in it. Was there any other?
Andrew McCarthy was in that too.
Yeah, that's right. He was in it too.
Okay, well they were still making.
Remember
movies.
Andrew McCarthy talked about the terrible wig they put him in?
Yeah.
And Pretty in Pink?
Oh,
That's
because
right,
he had
yeah,
his
the-
head shaved for
Yeah,
something.
Yeah,
For,
he was in the theater.
Yeah.
Yes, he was
Yeah.
in the theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. He had to wear that wig for the one scene at the very end there. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's another. I haven't seen Pretty in Pink in
I don't even know what that movie's about. But I guess
honestly, I didn't know it was a wig, so kudos to the prop master.
Once he said it, I'm like, oh god, yeah. I totally see it. I'm like, well, it can also just be bad 80s hair.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
I guess my point is, I'm just trying to think the timeline in my head. It's like, look, do we really know it was the article that killed these people's careers, or was it St. Elmo's Fire?
Well, that's
that
what I'm
movie
saying
sucked.
though, is that like. It's easier to blame the article than be like, hey, maybe I'm not as good as an actor as I thought it was, or something like that.
That's the harder pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Look, and then the 2000s came and they had the whole Britney Spears, Lindsay Lohan, Paris Hilton, all those people hanging out, and then they just had paparazzi shots of up the skirts and stuff. That was the 2000s Brat Pack.
Maybe
That's right.
Andrew McCarthy and the Brat Pack, they walked so Britney Spears and Paris Hilton could run.
Well, that was kind of the point that some of them made, is exactly that. Not so much Paris Hilton, them, but people in the movie business stuff, where it became much more about the teens. Early 20s, and that was sort of much more the target market going, and still is really to this day.
Yeah, exactly.
No one's really making movies for seniors.
Yeah.
Some are like Clint Eastwood, but most people, most of the big movies now are all geared towards that 18 to 35.
So if you look at the Brat Pack is kind of laying the foundation.
Well, that's kind of what Rob Lowe and a couple of them sort of said. Hey, if you look at it, this is kind of, did it suck to go through? Yeah. But
he's like, look at all the change we brought.
Someone had to be first.
Yeah.
It just happened to be us.
Yeah.
Can I just say something just in case Rob Lowe happens to listen to this? Rob Lowe, Brothers and Sisters, you were peak. Love that TV show.
Really?
I don't necessarily love that TV, but he was beautiful in that TV show.
Until you said TV show, I had no idea what you're talking about. I'm like, those are words. I know what the words mean. Yeah. Strung together like that, I don't know.
I just needed him to know that. You never know who's going to listen to this. He's still on TV,
isn't he? I saw some 911 type show or something. I swear I saw a commercial or something.
He's just always around.
Yeah.
He's had a long, he's had a long career.
I have his biography and I haven't read it yet.
The first thing I remember him coming back was Tommy Boy.
I remember Tommy Boy.
I remember after, because obviously
it was a comeback role for him, yeah.
Yeah. And then he kind of just,
after the scandal, yeah.
Yeah, and he just kind of started, he a ton of, I'm sure he did some other movies, I think, but just kind of mostly
he was on The West Wing, Brothers and Sisters, Parks and Rec. He did a lot of TV. I mean, he's worth a lot of money. Good for you, Rob.
I watched this show, him and his kids going around chasing Bigfoot or something.
That seems crazy.
Yeah, it was on A&E or something.
Okay.
Yeah, they're going around chasing because I guess he's big into paranormal stuff.
So he's chasing Bigfoot and Andrew McCarthy's chasing the past.
Yeah, exactly. Both of the illusions or myths, who knows.
So one of the things they talked about one of the things in the movie was he was asking different people who was in the Brat Pack, because they had again, to me it's the St. Elmo's Fire crew plus Molly Ringwald that was sort of the Brat Pack. But they had because somebody was John Cryer, was he in the Brat Pack?
Well, because he was in Pretty in Pink, yeah.
And who else? There was other names.
What about
Anthony Michael Hall?
What about the blonde Mare Wyndham or whatever her name was, the blonde girl?
Oh.
Why did she get left out?
From St. Elmo's Fire, yeah, she was
a main character.
She had a bigger role than Demi Moore.
Yeah,
yeah.
She was spared the Brat Pack title, I guess.
Yeah, it's a weird. That's the thing too. Even in the documentary, asking, no one kind of could.
Yeah.
He kind of had the same four names, and then after that, it was kind of.
There's a bunch of add-ons here and there, yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm just the cultural impact. The Brat Pack films were notable for their realistic portrayals of teenage life and the issues young people faced. They resonated with audience and became defining films of the 1980s. The actors themselves became symbols of a generation, and their off-screen personas and friendships added to their allure. But they weren't even friends, really.
Well, I think that was part of it too. Was
people thought they were. I mean, they were filming the movies. I'm sure.
I'm sure they know what they were, but even you said, Andrew McCarthy, when he was doing this, he's I haven't talked to somebody who's been 40 years, 35, 30 years. It's
maybe nobody talked to him, but they all talked to each other.
Oh,
snap!
They had a group chat. And he wasn't in it.
Maybe that was it. He got kicked out of it. Yeah,
kicked out of it. It says by the 1980s, the Brat Pack phenomenon began to wane as the actors pursued different projects and grew older. The influence of their films endured, and they continued to be celebrated for their contributions to 1980s cinema. The term Brat Pack itself has since been used to describe other groups of young actors in subsequent decades, though none have achieved the same iconic status. The Brat Pack represents a unique moment in film history where a group of young actors and their films captured the spirit of a generation and left a lasting impact on popular culture.
It's true though, because you haven't you haven't really seen that since. There's been lots of teen actors and stuff like that, but kind of having a group of 8 or 9 of them that are kind of making almost all these not every movie coming out, but a good chunk of them hasn't really happened at all.
Look at the whole era of like the teen romance comedies, like they could have, like, why couldn't Freddie Prinze Jr. and like who else was
They
in all
did
those?
kind of had that. That
They
was
have their
true.
little
That
Brat
they
Pack.
had
The late 90s that had like
Sarah
the
Michelle Gellar and
Scream
Ryan
Queens
Phillippe
and
and
Jennifer Love
Selma
Hewitt.
Blair. They were like, yeah. I
Yeah.
kind of forgot about those. Yeah, that kind
That
of was a
like
little bit
another
of a
little, 'cause
little
they were all
revival.
in like a bunch of movies
yeah,
together.
where they're sort of the same. Not all of them, but they're sort of same
Well,
core
I mean,
group
I'm pretty
in some
sure-
way, shape, or form.
and there was no article that labeled them, right?
No.
But
Yeah.
sort of the same thing happened to a lot of them. They never really transitioned out of those kind of teen roles into like the adult roles.
Okay, but
That's the
let's
thing too. Exactly,
but-
kind of the same thing. Like,
wait.
Yeah.
Let's look at it a different perspective. Clearly not Andrew McCarthy because he's bitter Betty. But I'm just saying, what if they didn't want to? What if they had that success? They made their movies and they were like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm out of Hollywood. I'm just gonna go live my life now." And they didn't want to be in any other
who?
films.
Molly Ringwald and Judd Nelson.
No, I'm talking about like we were talking about Freddie Prinze Jr. and stuff. How they didn't really do anything past those movies. But I'm
They
just
might.
saying in general.
I'm pretty sure Freddie Prinze didn't. Did he? I think he didn't. He'd take time off on his own.
But that's what I'm saying. So like,
Which is fine, but-
no. But my point is, we're all assuming like, unless they say it, we don't know. But we're all assuming that like, they didn't really do anything afterwards. But maybe they didn't want to.
Some probably didn't, but a
maybe.
lot of them still acted. Just
Yeah.
in,
None of them really said like, "Oh, I was done with acting after that."
I know. I'm just looking.
No,
at
I'm
it
just
from
saying a lot of
different
them.
way.
No, but I know what you're trying to say. Yeah, but most of them did still act. They just were in small roles and bit parts.
But maybe
and
that was okay for them.
it might have been. Yeah.
Not some of them, because some of them are bitter. But I'm just saying in general.
No, I mean it's very possible. Yeah, but I'm just saying if you want to be an actor, I'm guessing you want to be in the starring role, not the third friend on a sitcom or something, right?
Maybe.
Like,
I
Yeah.
mean, who knows? It's different for everybody. Not everybody wants to be Tom Cruise.
no, maybe not. But I'm saying I'm assuming if these people are still in front of a camera, they want to be an actor.
Especially
Right.
if you've gotten top billing and suddenly you're not getting top billing
Right.
anymore. I don't think they're like, "Oh, I'm happy being like."
No, I think if either you
on the second page of the credits.
yeah, like I said, some
Well-
people who leave,
Yeah.
but those that stay, if they're on the camera, they're not. I don't think many people are standing in front of the camera
Yeah.
wanting to be the
don't know.
third friend or
You never know.
you never
We
know.
don't
But I'm
know.
just saying, I think
it's highly unlikely.
it's very unlikely. Yeah,
Look, I'm
Kelly's
trying to give
grasping at
them.
straws
I'm
here.
trying to give them the benefit of the doubt because, like, I just don't want them to be all bitter about something that happened so long ago that doesn't even matter.
I'm even confused. Are you talking
I
about
don't know
Brat
who
Pack
I'm
or who are you
talking
talking about
about.
now?
I'm just talking
Freddie
in
Prinze
general.
Jr. Or
Well, Freddie Prinze Jr. I mean, him and whatever her name is went off and had babies.
Sarah Michelle
They're
Gellar?
still
Yeah.
married, so
yeah, no, they are.
Yeah.
they both kind of stepped away. I think.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. Did
Yeah.
they? She was still around for a while.
A little bit, but
I
I
don't know,
mean,
yeah.
I don't think they do anything
Wasn't
now.
Freddie Prinze Jr. Was he involved with like wrestling or something like that?
He was writing wrestling
Or
scripts.
some of that I remember hearing
Yeah.
some of that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Probably making a lot of money doing that.
super
don't know.
popular. Yeah.
Yeah.
Soon to come on Netflix.
Writing jobs are good if you're good at it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
yeah.
why I'm on a podcast.
Look at David Foster. He wrote all those songs and he's a gazillionaire.
Writing
Yeah,
music. That's a
writing
whole
music?
other. That's
Yeah.
a whole
Well, I
other.
know, but still.
Barrel of monkeys. But yeah.
Okay, before we wrap this up,
We're way off in a tangent now.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
okay, that's why I was bringing us back in. It's what happens. It's near the end. Before we end this, though, I'm gonna quickly, each of you guys and myself, Eric, give us a synopsis of your thoughts on that movie.
A synopsis of my thoughts on the movie?
Yeah, what your overall feeling was, what you thought, and surprised you, whatever.
You put me on the spot now, but I don't know. Like, it just kind of left me feeling like empty at the end. Like, I wasn't satisfied with like what happened. I don't think Andrew McCarthy had any sort of resolution, and it wasn't a great documentary, to be honest. It didn't really tell like a great story for the Brat Pack. It was mostly like Andrew McCarthy's kind of trying to deal with his own demons by connecting with his former castmates.
Yeah.
And he didn't really resolve any of his demons, from what I could tell. So I don't know. It just seemed like a very unsatisfying documentary.
Thumbs up or thumbs down?
I'm gonna say thumbs down.
All right, Steve, what about you?
Yeah, it's kind of the same way. I was expecting totally different. I was expecting much more of like a retrospective look back and like, you know, him getting back together with everyone to talk about the movies and stuff like that, not just kind of bitch about this one article.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was nice to see everyone still doing well and whatever. You know, interesting to hear some good stories and stuff like that. But yeah, it definitely wasn't what I was expecting at all.
No.
I was expecting much more of like a look back, like a fond look back on this great time in their lives, not like this fucking article ruined this fucking jerk.
Okay, stop saying the F word. I mean,
So-
we're really deep in. People aren't listening now.
No,
but-
so I'll give it a thumb sideways.
Oh,
All right.
sideways.
Yeah, I mean, right off the top, kind of like you guys, I was expecting it to be more like a history of them and blah, 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 blah. And it was completely different than what I was expecting. To me, it just seemed kind of, I don't know, the vibe I was getting, it just seemed very kind of sad and almost pathetic, him trying to reach out to these people and people weren't calling him back. I was like, ooh, sorry. And then just overall, like his butthurtness about it. Like, I mean, I get it. It was an impactful part of your life, and who knows what could have been. But it's been so long. Can't you just kind of like, I don't know, whatever. I just thought he came off kind of as bitter and annoying. And Ali Sheedy all the way.
That's just like you guys made some great movies.
Yeah, like just,
a lot of them have stood the test of time. They're still watched. They're still regarded well. So embrace that and be proud of it.
Well, and I think too, like I just think what he wanted out of that journalist was just weird.
Well, he's never going to get what he wants.
But it's weird
what he seeks
that he
is
wanted
inside,
that.
not out there.
No, but
he
I'm
doesn't
saying
realize it.
it's
Inner
weird.
peace.
No,
That's right.
I'm just saying it's weird that he was going for that apology type thing. Like I thought, like it just made.
I want him to cut him.
Hold on,
Fight.
it just made him seem. That made him seem a little bit more pathetic than I was already feeling about him. I'm sorry. That's just the vibe I got.
No,
It was
that's fine.
kind of
Your
sad.
opinion, you're allowed to have it.
I'm going to give it a thumbs down just because I think it could have been really good, but it was too much wah.
No, I think if you're going in there
Yeah.
expecting like a fun look back on the
No,
Brat Pack years, that's
it
definitely
wasn't.
not the movie you're thinking.
No,
of.
it's
the
not.
movie for you.
And it's just very like wah. But I want you guys out there to watch it if you can.
Yeah, it's
and
on Hulu, right?
Hulu. Comment down below and let us know what your thoughts, because maybe we're seeing it totally different. I don't know. That my general vibe from it was just kind of like
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not at all what I was expecting. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to like shake him and be like, dude, you're 60.
Get over it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's rename it Brats to Andrew McCarthy's Bitter Little Pill.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
But yeah, comment below and let us know what you guys think of Brats, the documentary. Definitely check it out if you know anything, if you like those 80s movies. I mean,
Yeah,
just for that.
It's just fun to see some of the Brat Pack.
And Ali Sheedy, go girl. But that is it for today's podcast. We thank you so very much for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.
Take care, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
See you in the next one.
Bye.